So I've always been interested into biology, and just like last time, today we're gonna discuss a couple controversial authors and why they were bashed for certain ideologies or certain works that they've done. George Orwell, born in 1903, known for his very famous and such great books, in my opinion, Animal Farm and 1984. He says that if he wasn't born in a very difficult time, he probably would have never been into politics. Orwell was assigned to a Marxist militia group that was min qarib or min ba'id associated with Stalin and with the Soviet Union. So you can already start seeing where the controversy comes from. Orwell was shot in war in the throat, and experience he described as very interesting. And I quote, "The whole experience by being hit by a bullet is very interesting, and I think it is worth describing in detail. It was the sensation of being at the center of an explosion." He was a huge hater of the Soviet Union, and I quote, "It was of the utmost importance to me that the people in Western Europe should see the Soviet regime for what it really was." He then publishes Animal Farm, where he basically pisses in the mouth of the Soviet Union, implying that it was not this happy, free, equal place that it claimed to be. All animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. Although George Orwell defended individual liberty, he was not really a liberal, or at least in the traditional sense of the word. His nightmarish images of the government surveillance and obviously the propaganda inspired the talk libda ديال individual rights and liberty and so on. And so I'm gonna view whether you agree with Orwell or not. I think he is to be called brave for trying to warn everybody for what we're living right now and what's currently looking like the future, and he remains one of my favorite authors of all times. Franz Kafka, born in 1883. Died young, almost at 41, because of tuberculosis. And I feel like it only makes sense to put Kafka right after Orwell, because who else fits better than Kafka? Kafka was a very miserable human being, to say the least. He was not a happy boy, he did not have a happy childhood, and his work was not recognized really when he was alive. It was really until he died that he started getting the popularity. Voila, my words, hello. He was such an icon that the word Kafkaesque was created to describe the atmosphere of his work. Nightmarish, bizarre, very complicated and unusual situations, like turn into a bug. His work, particularly the trial or metaphorses, were very controversial at the time due to their very grim depiction of such an indifferent world. And I feel like it's his work, no matter how sad it is and how frowned upon it may be, I still find it really beautiful. And I just finished reading a couple weeks ago Letters to Milena Djeru, and it's chef's kiss book. I highly recommend it. Sylvia Plath. So many people dislike Sylvia Plath, and actually Sylvia Plath in the book world كتجيني بحال Lana Del Rey في الموسيقى. Lana Del Rey has lots of fans, but she also has lots and lots of people that say believe she romanticizes being sad and abused, and it's like quirky, and going for toxicity is quirky, and she sings about all these things, but then age differences, like in really older men. And it's so many people would say that this music being accessible to younger girls could be very harmful, but also she's an artist and she's allowed to express her feelings artistically in the way that she wants, and nobody gets to take that from her. So you don't know if you wanna, be okay with whatever she sings about, or not be okay with it because it would affect a lot of younger girls. Sylvia Plath is this girl. She was physically abused by her husband, especially when the era اللي كانت غتكتب فيها the bell jar. So it really explains هذيك romanticizing ديال being sad and the victim, and had the mentally unwell aesthetic did not really please a lot of people. There's also some racism in her work, very subliminal, and it's I think I liked the bell jar. I read this book a really long time ago, but I feel like I want to read it again just because I kind of forgot what it was. When I was doing research for this video, I started to understand that so many things I read when I was like 16 didn't appear to be controversial to me, but now looking back at it, I'm like, that was definitely weird, and I don't know why I wasn't weirded out by that. Or lastly, we have Aristophanes. Aristophanes is one of the really old philosophers. كان معروف surtout with his theories على finding your other half and whatever. You can go dig deeper into this persona because he's really interesting, but he was really controversial in his time just because of his satire. He was known as the greatest comedian at his time, and although this is something that entertains us now, Sharaji in Athena, religion in Greece was really basically just the worship of nature, and he kind of mocked that. Democracy and romanticism were basically the biggest part of his satire, and he was actually taken to court once just because he played a play that was considered offensive. You want to know the title of why he was arrested? It is slandering the people of Athens in the presence of foreigners because of a play that he performed. So you can imagine how offensive it was at the time, but now we read it and we think it's more realistic and closer to our reality than theirs, and you just be like, you know what, you wish these authors could still be alive today to see all the impact of their work and how things changed and how people changed and how you can be more open these days due to liberty of expression, which is really not used correctly these days, and this is a whole other topic. But it was really nice to film this video, short, simple, efficace. I just really like digging deep into Headl author's drama, and I think I hope you guys like them too, and I will see you in my next video, probably also about books. Bye.
Kafka was a visionary chronicler of modern horror, the totalitarian state, the death camps, the kind of inhumanity that man creates. Kafka shows the cost of that modern devotion to technology, to order, to efficiency, the human cost.
For Kafka, writing was really an attempt to understand what it meant to be human. And the stakes for him were incredibly high.
The tremendous world I have in my head. But how can I release it and release myself without tearing myself apart? And it is 1,000 times better to tear myself apart than to keep it in check or buried in me. That is what I am here for. Of that I am quite clear.
Since his death, Franz Kafka's work has become enormously influential. It remains unrivaled for its intensity, modernity, and prescience.
I remember the first time I read Kafka, I said, this is some of the most bizarre, absurd, insane stuff I've ever read, but it was brilliant.
What Kafka did was give words to a certain kind of angst. His stories seemed fantastic. They seemed unapologetically bleak, and it was gripping and riveting and shocking all at the same time.